Of course, we're talking about the fallen General Francis Ogolla, who perished along with 9 other officers last week. It was on Thursday, right, Obuya?
Yes.
It was on Thursday, and the whole weekend was dedicated to coverage of the general's funeral. And that's our first topic of discussion on the topic.
If it was the first time we were losing a general in office.
In office.
And a general is almost like a president. You know, he commands the very best of our armies. And so it is. It was a very sad event that happened, but we saw it coming. We saw it coming because there have been so many such accidents of army aircrafts, yes, happening.
Yeah.
And it has happened over and over again. So it's only that it has never gained the attention of the country because the people who die in those accidents are not don't have the class or the caliber of a general or defense forces. But this was coming. And
it was an accident waiting to happen.
It was waiting to happen, and we wonder what really happened because the truth is that these things have been happening, and just like in the last 2-3 years, we have had 12 accidents involving these KDF.
Military?
Yes.
Seriously?
Military accidents, air choppers. And one we had in Boni that I think killed 4 people. Four. And we have been having them over and over and over. And the problem is that there's lots and lots of secrecy when it comes to the military. And so at times, even journalists, you are told that don't cover that. That is exposing your country, because if it is known then that the aircrafts that the military operates are faulty, then that's a security threat to the country. And so you are told don't cover that story, don't do that story. But it's a story that has been waiting to happen, and it's a tragedy that after it happens is when we want to try and see, we want to investigate what really is happening with the military, with the chopper. Is the equipment the military have good enough to make them do what they're supposed to be doing? There are lots and lots of questions that are still being asked on really what happened and why the CDF was using that aeroplane that he was using, that chopper that he was using, because incidentally that's not a chopper that is supposed to be using.
Correct.
And we hope that the investigations that are going to happen are going to be made public. But I won't even be surprised if they are not made public.
Is that why the opposition was so adamant about making it all transparent?
And Oburu was much more clearer when he spoke in Ngea, in Siaya County. It could have been an accident, but we just allay our fears that it was just an accident, because there's also a possibility that this was planned. There was also a possibility that the 9 who died just collateral damage.
Yeah.
That the CDF was the person who was being targeted. We saw this when Minister Saitoti died. We were told Ojode was collateral damage.
Right.
And so I understand where Nick and his people are coming from, because this has happened one too many times. And I saw Joel speaking, and the son of CDF, and saying, I am sure my dad was not killed. It was just an accident. But Oburu came and told him, young man, relax. Relax. Tulia. Because he actually said that he was on the panel that was investigating the death of Ouko. And at that time, the family of Ouko was very, didn't want to give out information, because the regime then had managed to subdue them, and in one way or another they were not willing to give out information. It could have also happened that the regime now, I'm not saying this is what is happening, but because it happened, what has happened, it will happen. So it is a possibility, and that's why there's a need just to be very fair and come out clearly and say this is an accident, these are the investigations that have been done, these are the results of that investigation.
But you see, much as we say the accident should be done and investigations, and they share with us, they've said it's a military story and military information is kept secret. And if you go online and try and investigate helicopters, these helicopters are like what, 40, almost 50 years old?
That's again the.
I think the last one was made in 76.
Yes, but
almost 50.
Imagine.
And some of them are just donations,
right,
from the US. Yeah, and so. It also puts our security at risk, because if you are using the equipments we are using to protect ourselves from the enemy outside is donated, then it also becomes an issue, because the person who is donating that equipment to you knows everything about that equipment. If he wants to make it not work, he will make it not work. And so I think there's a need for, Kidiki has been saying, talking about how they are going to, get new equipments and make sure that the police are working. I think there's a need to upgrade our equipment, especially the army equipments, because as it is right now, ni kama kuna ka uoga kidogo if we were to go out there and fight, if we were to be attacked by an enemy, or if we were to engage in a war, then our equipments will be falling from the skies,
Tutachapwa
vibaya sana. And that's now what the military doesn't want to the other people to know, because once they know that our equipments are faulty, then we are exposed as a country.
Which also means that the tendering process, wale wananunua hizo ndege,
sijui kama ni maintenance ama ni uzee,
both actually, both. No, it's both.
I don't know, because
kabla someone donates to you a whole bunch of helicopters, what does that mean first? You do give out like your card. See, when you're tired of it, that's like, now because I don't want to throw it away, let me donate. And then you just cup your fingers and hope all goes well. Because look at it, we've got private helicopters.
Yes.
Well maintained. And then we've got the military ones. We've had like 5 in the last so long. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying that this is what happened, but could be a possibility.
It could be a possibility, and the issue is that the secrecy that comes with the military, even the budget, how they use their budget, you never really know how they are spending their budget, because everything they do, if you ask a question, they will tell you that is a national security issue. Everything they do, if you ask a question, they will tell you that's a national security issue. And so I think for this one, the committee, the defense committee, the Defense and Foreign Affairs Committee in the National Assembly must come out and try to investigate this issue, because what we are being told about the military investigating their own, I doubt if we are going to get anything tangible from the investigation that will be done by the military.
By the way, is there a timeline on this?
No.
There's no timeline.
Now that's another tragedy, because they will investigate and investigate. And Kenyans, being Kenyans, after we bury the fallen soldiers, the heroes that died with the CDF, we will move on to something new. There will be floods. There will be something that will happen and capture attention, and they will forget about the accident that killed the CDF. That's the tragedy that happens. We were told that CS Murkomen has formed a committee to investigate the accident, only for him to retract yesterday and say, no, that was not for that particular accident. This was just for accidents that happen, the choppers that are going down in the air. That's, because the committees that was appointed by Murkomen are largely civilian, and they can't go to the military and try to investigate. They will be told you can't do this.
Right.
And so I think the Defense and Foreign Affairs Committee then must come out and try to investigate and tell Kenyans really what transpired. Was this an accident? And if it was an accident, what caused that accident? Then how can we stop such accidents from happening in future? Because the fact that it happened does not mean that is the end of it. It could happen again if the choppers are not well maintained. If the choppers are old, it will happen again, and that puts the life of our army men at risk. And so there's a need to know, was it an accident?
Obuya, a lot of people have been asking this question for a whole CDF, right? Going out in the field in one chopper. Do they usually fly in 2-3 choppers just in case because of security and all that stuff? And then what? He was going to inspect troops or schools?
I understand why he went there, because from what we were told, the eulogy, it seems he was a hands-on man. He was a down-to-earth man. He was not a man who sits in the big office. A man who goes to see how his troops are performing wherever they are. And so I would understand why he went there, because there's an operation there. They are trying to deal with the bandits. And so I would understand why he would go there and try to motivate his troops and tell them, please, let's do this. What I don't understand is why he didn't go with his chopper. Because from what we are reading, that was not the chopper that the CDF officially uses. And there's this notion that the chopper that he uses was changed, I know, last minute. And so we want to know what really happened, what transpired between him going to, between the planning of the trip and what happened. Was the chopper faulty when he was going, or it was faulty just when he was trying to move from one area to another? Did somebody tamper with that chopper? All those questions then must be answered for Kenyans to allay any fears that this is purely an accident. Because as it is, there are still lots and lots of conspiracies that are being thrown around, and once that happens, then you can't be so sure that what happened really was purely an accident. Yeah,
it's so sad. I mean, and so unfortunate, but the outpouring of grief has been incredible.
It was. Like I said, he was the first CDF to die in the office. And the way he was appointed,
that whole controversy.
The controversy, yes. The bombers controversy that happened on August 15th. There was a whole story about Francis Ogolla even before he died in the office. And so by the fact that he died in the office, and because of what happened, there were lots of suspicions. Has he been killed? Was he sacrificed? Was he being fattened to be slaughtered? All those questions. And the conspiracies will not go away for as long as an investigation is not done and try to, just to show that this was an accident. Because, you heard even what President Ruto was saying at Ulinzi, in Langata, how he was advised not to appoint Ogolla to be the CDF.
Yeah.
You heard what Duale was saying, CS Duale was saying in Siaya, how the exchanging of the text. And so there was a whole cloud about CDF Ogolla before he was appointed. By the fact that he was appointed, then, he became now like a black sheep, because this is a person who you are accusing that you do want to, ni kama unataka kuoa na mtu anaanza kuambia usioe huyu msichana, and then mkisha kubaliana mnataka kuoana, unachukua huyu mtu kuwa best man.
but also in life generally, there's always, like, if something happens to you, I mean, we all know HR will say that some people didn't want you to join, or didn't want Jeff to join, or Nick to join.
Right.
Then we just took a chance. Then it can go either way. I know these things just come out at funerals, and then now people now speculate. No, but
the thing is, this is not a speculation. This is the president coming out.
This is facts.
In fact, the president came out not during Matanga, before, and said many people didn't want Ogolla to be the CDF. And said of all the names that were proposed to be the CDF, Ogolla's name wasn't among them. And so
he said that himself.
He said that himself, not once, not twice. And for you then to appoint him as a CDF, despite the fact that you have reservations of how he dealt with the whole issue during elections, then it puts questions into people's minds when he dies in the office. Obviously, people will come up with lots and lots of conspiracies.
Yeah. Hey.
But the fact is that, Jeff, whether it was an accident or not, in fact, it would be worse even if it was an accident, because, this has been happening. The choppers have been falling from the skies. So then if it was an accident, what measures are being taken to make sure that we don't lose our army men in such a manner? Because it has been happening. It has only taken the death of a CDF for the whole country then, for the attention of the whole country to be turned on what has been happening with the military choppers.
And if it was not an accident?
Now that, if it was not an accident, unfortunately, nothing will be done. Because we have been here before. We have had such instances before where, Odiambombai died, for example. What has happened? Musando died, for example. What has happened? Unfortunately, if it was not an accident, that's the end of it. Unfortunately, if it was not an accident, because since the days of Gama Pinto, since the days of Ouko, since the days of all Tom Boya, all those prominent people, Captain, Muliro died, collapsed in a airport coming, from abroad, and he died because it was alleged that he had some dossier. The briefcase he was carrying just disappeared like that. These things have happened, and unfortunately, if it was not an accident, that is the end of it, because the people who did it then are the people in the system. If it was not an accident, unfortunately.
May so rest. Unajua hizi vitu zinakuwa, it's like when you sit with someone says something that makes so much sense and people conclude it's an accident, others will say it's this. I know when it's someone high ranking or I respect in society who throws it out there, that's what becomes the narrative.
Yes.
But maybe what I would say is maybe it's high time we also stop taking old equipment and just buy things that can be, because I'm sure there's no 100-year-old helicopter or 60 or 70. After a certain time, it has to be retired. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. At least that's one of the ways to avoid such situations if it was an accident.
And if you don't have the money to buy,
we have the money. I'm sure we do.
Just try to maintain it. Just try to make it.
I don't think there's any other country that has 60-year-old helicopters. They are supposed to be let go at some point. If the airlines themselves let go of their old planes, because it gets to a time.
Yes.
It's very risky. So that's all I'd say. But we celebrate his life, his kid's life.
Yeah. He seemed to be a very good man. He seemed to, how people talked about him. He seemed to be a man who was grounded, a man who was a family man,
and God-fearing.
Yeah,
that came out a lot.
It came out a lot.
And his children.
His children. If we was, you see him through his children, and he seems to have raised them in a very good manner.
Absolutely.
Although najua shosho na babu ya Niki huko nyumbani, najua sahi wamezusha how somebody who is respected like that to be buried in 72 hours huko kwetu, is
we did give him a decent no bull was slaughtered, guys, and they in Lanyanza, guys, they didn't feed even a single person.
Yeah, that's hiyo sio matanga huko nyumbani.
But I guess also it makes sense because he had said when he's passing, he had his will and said he doesn't want any heavy financial burden upon his family. Because feeding all those mourners, 32 bulls, maybe, get catering 10 million, 20, those things. So, maybe Luo Nyanza, maybe it's time we also adopted this.
Uko nyumbani, both Luo and Western, even Baba spoke about it, Raila Odinga spoke about it. He was saying that, we have turned funerals to be an enterprise. But that's our culture. At times, some of these people, make it in life and try to, go against the culture. Mimi sahi nikifariki na niandike kwa wili ati nizikwe Lang'ata. Wewe italeta maneno mingi sana. Hata hawezi kubali.
Mimi nilishaambia Jeff minimum 8 months kabla nizikwe. Huwezi jua, maybe there's someone who's doing a research.
If I said that I'm going to be buried at Lang'ata, I will be setting up my nuclear family with the community, because the community will not accept. Obviously, they will not accept.
Lazima wakupeleke
they have
nyumbani.
to take me home. They have to take me home. Ama niseme ati nikikufa ni chomwe. That is unheard of huko kwetu. Atasema huyu kwani ameingia devil worshiping. So some of these things I think even as we make it and we make wills, I think is a need to respect the culture of the people you come from.
Yeah, but 72 hours was incredible. Huh? I mean, it was incredible.
It's too soon.
Gone too soon.
But he's a soldier, so maybe he knew that as a soldier you can die anytime. And anyway, anybody can die anytime. But for a soldier, their life expectancy is not. You can go to war and die anytime. And so I will understand why he put that in the will. They tried to explain why he didn't want to be buried without a coffin. I didn't get it.
Yeah.
That part I didn't get it, and I don't want to speak about it that much. And so some of these things, I think we need to respect the culture of the people we come from.
Absolutely. On that note, let's switch gears. Doctors' strike. Is there an end in sight? I saw a story this morning that there could be an end in sight.
There could be. There are still some sticky issues that are stopping doctors from signing, appending their signature on the deal that the government is presenting. Finally, the government has woken up because, they were acting as if they didn't care. And I think they were trying to push the doctors into a corner into submission, but the doctors stood firm. And so for the last 3 days, we have been having talks that go until 3 a.m., until 12 at night. There has been an effort to try and resolve that stalemate, and that's all the doctors were asking for, and they have agreed on some issues. The issue of the payment that they are being owed. They have agreed that they receive in 3 batches. They wanted the whole payment at once. The government told them we don't have the money, so they agreed they pay them in 3 batches. The doctors agreed. The only sticky issue I think that is remaining is the issue of interns.
Right. And the 70K.
Yes, the 70K that they want to give the interns. The doctors are saying no, that you have been giving us 200 plus and 6, and so you cannot just reduce that to 70,000. Now the government says we don't have the money to do that. And so they're saying we wait for the courts to rule on the issue, because the courts are supposed to be ruling on the issue, and so that's the only sticky issue that's now remaining.
But why would they say they don't have the money yet they used to do? What happened to the money that we're using at that particular point to implement that? I mean, did someone just raise their hands and ask what happened to the
Wanasema just because you have been doing a mistake, it does not mean that you have to continue doing that mistake, because they're saying they're trying to compare interns, how other interns are being paid in government. Some interns are being paid 25,000, some interns are being paid 15,000, and so they're asking, what is the justification of a doctor intern being paid 206,000, and yet all these other interns in government are paid or whatever they are being paid 2015, and so and SRC has already advised that money is too much. The 206,000 is too much, and the government is not sustainable for the government to continue paying that much money. And we have had the talks about the huge wage bill that the country is having, and so there are all those talks to try and reduce the doctor intern's salary from 206 to 70, which I don't see the justification. I also think 206 is too high anyway, but 70...
For a doctor, someone who saves lives, you can't compare someone who's come from Wildlife College and is interning at KWS, for example, and a doctor who can do surgery and prevent you from being amputated or dying. They're two different things. Otherwise, we don't be doctors.
No. I think the essence of negotiations is that you give and take. And so I think the government says 70, the doctors are saying 206.
That's 2/3, you know that?
Yes.
That's three times as much.
So let them negotiate. They can arrive at 160, 170. It will be okay, because that's the essence of negotiations. You give and take. You say 70, I say no, 206. No, what is... Okay, wanaume najua tujui kunegotiate sana. But Nick siku moja enda na Mrs. kwa duka. huko Isiliu, kama anasemanga hii ni 3,000, anasema niko na 1,000. Unaangalia kama mwanaume.
The other day at the supermarket, I realized kumbe you can negotiate at a supermarket and they give you a discount. But the ones that belong to Asians. Angalia vile Jeff amechangamka, utaingia nini leo? So you end up being given like 3 liters of cooking, like you've spent enough here, have this.
But
so
now
that makes sense.
Those guys know how to negotiate. Anasema 3,800, anamwambia niko na 1,200. We were like, what did you say? Wewe ungesema niko na 3,000, mmalizana haraka muende, but anamwambia 1,200.
Chukua au
na anaanza kwenda. Anamwambia kuja basi tuongee. So
but Obuya, this strike was so unnecessary when you look at it, huh?
It was.
They could have agreed on this a long time ago.
Sure. And that's what I'm saying. It's as if now the government has woken up. The government, doctors were accusing them of being on strike. I think now wametoka strike, wamekuja kwa negotiating table because, the notices were there, strike notices. One waka postpone, another waka postpone, and the government ni kama walikuwa wameweka something in the ears. They were not listening, they were not hearing, and so the way even the CS was speaking about the issue, she just didn't deal with it in the best way possible. And so until they went on strike, this is day 41 or 42 of the strike.
Correct.
And like I said, we can be talking about it on radio and on TV and thinking that it has no effect on the ground. People are dying. There are people who are losing their lives because of the doctor strike. There was a story of how one young man was bounced from one hospital to another until he got to Mama Lucy, where he succumbed to whatever was ailing him, and just because he didn't get a doctor.
Correct.
And these stories are happening in each and every village in our country. People are dying. The morgues are actually full, and so for a government to appear like they don't care and to tell doctors you can do what you want, mfanye mutadu, it doesn't augur well. And Anyway, I must commend them for the last 3-4 days. They have come out and they have tried to find a solution. It is 40 days too late. It is 40 days too late. And I just hope that the doctors then will agree and come back to the hospitals, because as it is, and I hope that when they agree, the government will not then not implement the CBA that will agree on 2 years from now.
Exactly.
Because this is exactly what happened in 2017. Yeah. The doctors were on strike for close to 100 days. And when they agreed, they signed a CBA. The CBA now that is not being implemented by the same government. And so I just hope that when they agree on the CBA that they are going to agree on, that the government then will implement that CBA. And the counties have been crying that they don't have money to implement some of those things that the doctors are demanding. But we hope that the monies that are remaining at the national government in the health ministry can be taken down to the counties so that they deal with some of these things, because it is a pet project of President William Ruto that he wants free healthcare, and so na tunatoa 2.75 kuanzia July.
Imagine in 2 months time.
In 2 months time, I hope you are ready. Umejitengeneza, usiseme you are not want. Tengeneza, align your salary. Hata wamdosi wamwambia kuongeza kitu kidogo. So that you align. And so if you are paying that 2.75 to make sure that we have healthcare, affordable healthcare to all, then we must put in place the hiyo ni hardware. Sasa ile ya ndani ndio tunafaa tuhakikishe kwamba kila Kenya akienda hospitali ana daktari, ana madawa na anapata huduma. Exactly. Those are the main 3 things.
Oh well, let's just hope for the best there, huh?
I hope jana the government was ready with the deal.
They were, huh?
They were already with the deal and they waited for the doctors. Doctors wakasema, ai, ngoja kidogo. Acha kwanza, hata kama tuna sign, let's consult, because unions are also run in a very funny manner. Ukijaribu kusign hiyo kitu na urudi huko, members wanawaambia wewe mchezo yako hatutaki,
au umepewa kitu
ama umekula. That's what happens. You unaenda huko as a union, you either intimidated, a union leader, you either intimidated to sign or you are given something to sign. So wewe unakula, members wanabaki njaa. But I'm sure the leadership of the KPMDU are very intelligent people, and they will use their intelligence. They will put the intelligence into good use and see if they can sign or not sign. But we just hope that this is going to end very soon.
Absolutely.